So
Recording in progress then. Thank you very much. All right, fantastic stuff. So I'm really, really honored to be here. Wonderful to be asked by Ash to help host this launch of Self-Portrait as a Banana by the amazing poet Hongwei Bao. Now, quite a few of you already know Hongwei, and you've all so far been treated to his incredible generosity. He's always about shouting out other people and raising the profile of other folk. But tonight is a celebration of his work. It's about family, it's about queerness, it's about joy, it's about sharing. It's going to be fantastic. And we get treats for you in the forms of other poets as well. Special guests Robert Hamberger, Gregory Woods, and Maria Jastrzębska. I really hope I've got that correct. So
Jastrzębska.
Jastrzębska, thank you so
You'll
much.
get it, mate. Don't
It'll
worry.
it'll
Don't you
get
worry.
there. Thank you so much, Ash. Yes, what we will be doing is we'll be making sure that we're raising the profile of people's books and their online social profiles and the rest of it. You can find out more about how to find these poets elsewhere. And as you notice, this event is free because we want to encourage you to go buy the books and support the poets. That's really what that's all about. It's going to be a magical night, and I will be hosting you throughout. My name is Faye Roberts, in case you can't read the thing at the bottom, and I'm here because Ashley really likes to share and likes to support other poets. It's also very exciting for me because I fairly recently moved to Nottingham, and this feels like a lovely way to meet more of the Nottingham poets as well. Because I'm feeling shy, I'm going to ask Ash to do that bit we talked about.
The house rules.
Oh, house rules.
Is that what you want me
Yes.
to say? Or
No,
oh no, yeah, no, I remember now. Sorry, I was drinking my brew. Yes,
Yeah.
I will come in and I will say that bit for you because you are just as phenomenal as the special guests and Hongwei. So I want people to know who you are as well. So where did I put it on my list? There we go. So I'm going to give you Faye Roberts' bio so that you can go and check them out as well. Faye Roberts is a performance poet, a musician, a storyteller, an events host, an award-winning voice actor, former artistic director for spoken word at PBH's Free Fringe, and an enormous geek. Yes. During weekdays, Z persuades people to make lists and say no to shiny things. You say no to shiny things. I say
Yeah,
yes to
this is
shiny things.
see every time I get introduced with this, and people go, "Oh, they'll say yes," and I'm like, "This will make my job a lot less easy if people keep saying yes to shiny things at work." Anyway, keep going. Um,
That was a shiny thing in itself that distracted me, wasn't it?
ADHD.
For
Yes.
every role, there is a different hat and a spreadsheet to match. Zia's first full collection, Spectral, came out with Burning Eye in March 2022, and Z describes it as, quote, a kind of poetry concept album with illustrations. And I'll second that. So yeah, fantastic. This is why I'm so chuffed that you agreed to be my main host.
Like I say, absolutely thrilled to be here. So this is, oh, sorry, Adiyemo. Yeah, there you go. Fantastic.
Fine.
Thank you very much. So this is probably a good reminder for in terms of segueing into the house rules, including making sure that you keep your microphone muted if people are performing, especially if you're in a noisy place. Um, it's a bit tricky with Zoom sometimes because we want to make sure that the poets know how much we appreciate them, but it's harder to control the noise levels and all the rest of it, especially if you have, for example, a dog or you're commuting or something like that. It can be interesting. So yes, do be aware of that, but do also use the fantastic opportunity that Zoom affords us to be able to make your comments known straight away by putting them in the chat. The chat can be used for all sorts of awesome things, gassing people up in general, sharing your links if you're one of the poets, talking about events that you think people would enjoy, but also picking out the lines that you liked, telling the poet how it made you feel, all of that kind of thing, joining in. What we will not, however, tolerate in any manner whatsoever is any kind of hate speech or any kind of bullying using the chat. At the moment, we've got it set up so that people can send private messages to each other, but if anybody is making you feel uncomfortable using that system, you let me or Ashley know, and we will escalate that with extreme prejudice. We have no no desire to make this an uncomfortable event for people. While the poetry will be dramatic and we'll talk about difficult things occasionally, there is no need to have that in the chat. We occasionally get that at events and we know how to get rid of that. Generally, we're talking here about as well no trash, no transphobia, racism, ableism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, any of that kind of thing. If you don't know how to use someone's pronouns, if they're written in their screen name, ask. If you want to say their name out loud, but you're not sure how to pronounce it, ask. Don't misgender people. Make sure that you're checking in. And if you're not sure, ask. If you're really not sure, just don't use the pronouns. Just use their name. That's dead easy. Oh, I like this actually. I'm going to read this out directly. Ash, anyone who is foolish enough to take the bigot path will be catapulted out of the meeting with immediate effect.
I
I
have
really,
cats and
really
I'm the
like that.
pult.
So yeah, if someone uses this, if someone I don't know, follows you elsewhere or insists, it's like someone standing too close to you at a physical event, and insisting that, they stay close to you and the rest of it. They do anything similar to that, they're out of here. Dead easy. The updated Zoom has a lovely reactions thing as well. So you can have reactions floating up the screen. It's rather gorgeous. So you can do that and show your appreciation with the love hearts going up, the applause going up, all of that kind of thing. I think there's even a thing where it kind of fills your screen if you want it to, and it's a lovely way to sort of see in the moment how people are feeling, or just sending dogs going up there as Lee is doing that. That was a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, if you're not sure if the technology is baffling you for whatever reason, just message me or Ash, and we can talk about that. Okay, I think we are sorted in terms of the intro, unless you think I've missed anything, Ash. No, fantastic stuff. All right, so we get to introduce the first poet. So exciting! This it's such a good part of my life, and it will be a great part of yours as well. So I'm going to be introducing you to Gregory Woods. We're going to be making Greg big on the screen, and I'm going to tell you about Gregory and his work. Gregory Woods is the author of 6 poetry collections from Carcanet Press, the latest being An Ordinary Dog in 2011 and Records of an Incitement to Silence 2021. His booklet, They Exchange Glances, Gay Modernist Poems in Translation 2024, is with Hercules Editions. That sounds amazing, and I'm really going to look into that. His cultural histories include Articulate Flesh, Male Homoeroticism and Modern Poetry, 1987, A History of Gay Literature, 1998, and Homintern, How Gay Culture Liberated the Modern World, 2016, all from Yale University Press. For 9 years, he chaired the Gender Studies Expert Panel on the European Reference Index for the Humanities, ERIH project, for the European Science Foundation. We'll be putting links in the chat to make sure you know how to find out more about him as we go. But in the meantime, I would like some enthusiasm and greeting of Gregory to let him know that this is his time to start to wow us with his work. Welcome, Gregory.
Thank you, Faye. And thank you, Hongwei and Ashley, for inviting me to take part in this event. First of all, I want to congratulate Hongwei on the publication of his book. And I'm really here to celebrate Hongwei's work in general. And in a sense, I suppose we're celebrating the recent flowering of East and Southeast Asian queer culture, which Hongwei is taking such a prominent role in as both a maker of art and also as a commentator and theorist and entrepreneur. And I'm watching his career with very great interest. As someone who wrote a history of gay literature, which contains a very old-fashioned chapter on the Orient, which is already looked pretty old-fashioned when it was published. I'm really particularly fascinated by Hongwei's work. Anyway, I'm going to be reading for about 20 minutes. I think I'm going to be reading 6 poems. It depends how quickly I go. These are all poems from my next collection, which I think is going to be called Lisp. But I'm sometimes told not to use the titles that I want to use. I'm going to start with a poem about my circumcision. I thought this was a good starting point. I was born in Egypt, which is, of course, a Muslim country. And so as a matter of routine, I was circumcised. I was also brought up, though, as a Roman Catholic. And this is a poem called The Cut, Lines for My 70th Birthday. On the morning of my birthday, I've been trying to remember what the body has encrypted of the city of my birth. How particular conditions of both climate and convention, since I found myself among them, have amounted to a dearth. While the memory is lacking, its memorial has lasted, like a message of invective to the dotard from the tyro. Even 7 decades later, the most commonplace procedure holds a tangible reminder of the legacy of Cairo. Having started my forgetting with a single cry of Advent, I was taken by my father to be introduced to life in concealment from my mother by a huddle of mute menfolk representing faith and science under Dr. Magdi's knife. 8 days later, I was swaddled in a gown of local cotton, loosely fastened at the collar with a ribbon of blue satin, to be christened in another close conspiracy of adults, the renouncing of the devil spoken over me in Latin. With my innocent uncleanness twice reliably lustrated, I was free to be a sinner in the manner of my choice, bearing scars of steel and water on the surface and beneath it. I would hone my own offences of the body and the voice. As the past regresses further into ciphers of amnesia, does the baffle of a sandstorm still adulterate the vision? In the gardens of Zamalek, are its petals still surrendered to a current of the Khamsin by the bud of circumcision? Up to 7 decades later, in my own hands and in others, the prerequisites of pleasure have been furnished. No one thinks it would profit any purpose to go back to the beginning and commit to restoration the defacement of the Sphinx. Lock the foreskin of the poet in a reliquary beautified with sapphires and sardonyx, flanked by muscular ephebes, and dispatch it up the river on a saturnine felucca to be buried as the sun sets in a pyramid at Thebes. In Italy, under fascism, gay men, particularly camp gay men, could be sent into internal exile on San Domino, which is an island in the Adriatic Sea. But what they found there, for the first time in their lives, was a queer community, which for the first time accepted them as themselves. So I wrote this poem called Internal Exile, about their experience. San Domino, Italy, 1938. Banished to the fringe, but coming home, from isolation to a crowd of us, protecting our powder-pale faces with makeshift parasols, no longer watched by family, priest, teacher, neighbor, employer. We see in each other that look in the eye, a recognition, kindred spirits, kindred flesh. In unpropitious times, a girl must have her wits about her, not to mention her mascara, or failing that, a smudge of soot. We're having the time of our lives within ourselves. We dress as we wish and behave as our fathers would not. We preen each other's plumage, gentle, virtuous birds, companions of Diomedes. Herded into this collective, reliant on each other's favours, a whispered word can dry a tear, is it in any wonder there are times we dread forgiveness, the chill threat of release? The rocks are bare, with little shade, and nights are spent locked in each other's company. No electricity, no running water, but dreaming of something like this. I'm Emeritus Professor of Gay and Lesbian Studies at Nottingham-Trent University. In 2009, Nottingham-Trent University's Arkwright building, which is a wonderful neo-Gothic building, was regenerated. It's a building at which D.H. Lawrence did his teacher's training. And when it was regenerated by the university in 2009, one of the rooms that I most loved in the university, its neo-Gothic gents' lavatories, was cleared out, and it's now a bleak, blank storeroom instead of a glorious marble and wooden and brass cruising ground. So I wrote this poem addressed to D.H. Lawrence in the manner of D.H. Lawrence, to D.H. Lawrence in the gents. It's an atrocious craft. Restore a place by ripping out its heart, or what our mothers might have called its waterworks. The neo-Gothic men's lavatories have been removed from Lockwood and Mawson's stone and cast iron reverie. Their plumbing short-circuited in censorious colostomy, gentrified, ungenitaled. Those who did this call their work, as they call anything they do, innovative and progressive, when what you might have hoped for would have been respectful of old-fashionedness, more grateful to the ghosts of those who built the building and those who used it first. Security cameras ensure none of its anodyne complacency is ever defaced with anything so out of joint as an idea. New generations pass through at a price to swallow a sand-blasted syllabus. They practice the pettifogging arts of how to sport a lanyard, the ergonomics of consumption. Their futures will shrivel under strip lights with no shadows at their feet. In these halls, you were taught the rules of how to tame and train a child. You knew a thing or two, Lorenzo, about the shame of public institutions when faced with the fact that people stink of physicality. The call of nature, too, can be either human or robotic. Nature, too, has need of culture to defend herself against the cleansing fervour of bureaucracy. I've imagined pissing here beside you, each in his Gothic-arched niche of porcelain, like statues turned to face the wall in private prayer. Behind us, a row of wood and brass confessionals in which to unburden yourself of the day's excesses and read about the private sins of other bodies. Here we brought our brains to remind them they're bodily organs, no more deserving than the lungs and lights, corporeal, not corporate, not agents of abstraction, still less collaborators with the littleness of schemes. I've imagined you soaring up beside me, Lorenzo Anadiomene, surging from the whirlpool, fresh-faced, diminutive redhead with a bum-fluff wisp of adolescent cash. I'd flame-throw the lot of them for a whiff of your piss. Just checking the time. This next one borrows its title from Walt Whitman, and it's a celebration of campness, I think, and of effeminacy, campness in men. A song for occupations. Interior decorators, we salute you, your pastels and tassels and drapes. Hairdressers, we salute you, your page boys and beehives and waves. Window dressers, we salute you, with what you promise us of luxury. Makeup artists, we salute you, your powders and glosses and blushes. Lovers of artifice, improving on nature. Couturier, we salute you, your sketches and stitches and catwalks. Ballet dancers, we salute you, your jeté, your sauté, your tights. Florists, we salute you, your nosegays and garlands and wreaths, improving on nature, your unnatural acts. Flight attendants, we salute you, your safety instructions and duty-frees, hospitable angels of the airways. We rejoice in your voices on sinuous tongues, highly pitched, highly strung, your sibylline sibilance, those pursings of your lips, those expressions and gestures, flamboyance in bloom, dispensing your laughter, dispensing with tears, the levity of your gravity, defiantly unmasculine, princesses by proxy, queens by divine right. Your passion for all the wrong things, colours, fabrics, show tunes, women, delivering the immaterial, convivial and trivial, exponents of the frivolous arts, effeminate ephemera, mere appearances. Outrageously courageous, engendering your individuality, courageously outrageous, embodying the stereotype. We salute you, ornamental, sentimental, your duty to beauty, light of foot and light of heart. You make light of the dark. A little poem about creating one's own nostalgia. It's a sort of love poem, I think. Excuse me, I need a sloosh of wine. Thank you. The past to come. Verily, verily, news from the scullery. Hear it in hindsight, its cry codicillary. Igniting a light show of punitive jewellery, downwind of the whiff of the ruined distillery. That isn't thunder, it's effing artillery. narrowly trapped by convention and salary, mindful of waistline and obstinate calorie, countering candour with posturing drollery, how we long for the times of our callow tomfoolery. Strutting and fretting like heroes in Malory, our ups and downs worthy of Tenzing and Hilary. Love was an ambush, a liquorish pillory, teasing the mind like a baffled fritillary. The heart neurasthenic, all baggish and marlery, cornered unfairly by beauty's cajolery. Pumping desire into every capillary, each to the other we played to the gallery, then rolled in a meadow of spurge and wild celery. And finally, this I think will be the last poem in Lisp, and it is the title poem, Lisp. It ends with a variation on words spoken by Lauren Bacall to Humphrey Bogart in the film To Have and Have Not, which was in 1944, I think. But this ends a sequence in the collection about stereotyping and about the things that we were thought to be unable to do, and the terrible things that we were thought to do. Anyway, Lisp. All those years of being told how to recognize one, or avoid being recognized as one. Can't throw a ball, can't whistle. Light in the loafers, limp at the wrist. Lisping, mincing, sissified, simpering. Woman-hating, too friendly with women. Can't throw a ball, can't whistle. Keeps things secret, can't keep a secret. And all those years of learning otherwise. Can't throw a ball, can't whistle. But you do know how to throw a ball, don't you? You just hire a venue, send out invitations, and start planning your outfit. You know how to whistle, don't you? You just put your lisp together and blow. Thank you.
Wow.
Everybody on mute. Oh,
take the mute off if you would like to make
yes.
appreciative
This
noises,
is the
because
time to.
oh my goodness.
Oh, bloody hell.
Wonderful.
I'm tingling. I won't lie. I've literally got the little hairs standing up because, especially that last poem was just such a shot in the arm. Glorious, wasn't it?
Thank you.
Gregory, I'm just so pleased Hongwei asked you to guest at this, because that was beautiful stuff. It's something that as a community we need to be sure that we're connecting with our roots as well as looking forward into the future. I hear a lot as a visibly older queer person from young people how important it is. Like, we get a lot of encouragement and courage from them, which is beautiful. We get new ways of describing ourselves and openness, and we get to celebrate in the fact that they get to be freer and safer and the rest of it, but they get to see a future for themselves in older queer folk, and I love that, and I love you giving us a way to track back from our past into our future. That's beautiful stuff, as well as the wordplay. My God, the rhythmical nature, the musicality, the precise rage, as well as the joy. I love that. The toilet piece, I was just like, oh, you're gonna need this as well.
I like precise rage. That sounds great.
Take it. Yeah, that's definitely yours. Please check out the chat because people are kind of pouring excitement. Some people don't until they've finished listening. They can't listen and process their own words at the same time. So you can see people are just like throwing in their excitement on the way. Folks, we will be reminding you of the link of how to find Gregory's work. Did you know he has his own Wikipedia page? Oh my God, I feel like I'm in the presence
Told
of
you
a
we had some big
celebrity.
names. I said.
Ooh, yeah, it's great stuff. So yes, we'll make sure that you can find Gregory's work. And Greg, if you have anything particular you want us to point people towards, please do let us know there.
Yeah,
Oh, in
please
fact,
do.
actually, can we have another round of appreciation for opening that? Because my goodness. Oh,
Woo!
glorious, glorious
Oh,
stuff.
look at them reactions. Too
Oh, there it
right.
is. Okay.
Lush.
And again, Hongwei, there's just so generous, always kind of highlighting other people. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Okay, right. So, what's lovely is we don't just kind of make you wait until the end for the headliner for the reason we're here. You get a lovely chunk of Hongwei's time now, which makes me very excited. So I get to introduce him. So Hongwei Bao is a Nottingham-based queer Chinese writer, translator, and academic. He is part of the Fifth Word Playwrights. Are we going to say GOBS or GOBS? I'll say
Gobs,
both.
gobs, gobs.
GOBS. GOBS, the Spoken Word Collective, which I just love this, and Nottingham Playhouse Writers' Room. He is also a Middle Way Mentee for writing fiction and a New Earth theatremaker. His work explores queer desire, Asian identity, diasporic positionality, which try saying that quickly, and transcultural intimacy, which that is very nice to say, actually. That's beautiful stuff. Hongwei is the author of Dream of the Orchid Pavilion, which is a poetry pamphlet with Big White Shed, 2024, The Passion of the Rabbit God, another poetry collection with Valley Press in 24, and Queering the Asian Diaspora, non-fiction with Sage, 2024. His short story, A Postcard from Berlin, was a runner-up for the Plaza Prize for Microfiction in 2023. So not only, as we know, a generous soul and talented poet, but multi-talented as well. He's performed poetry at Bad Betty Live, City Arts Nottingham, Dandelions Poetry, DIY Poetry, ESEA Authors Lit Fest, ESA Any Newcastle. Oh my gosh, there's such a list. We'll put this in the chat because it's just across the East Midlands and further up in some amazing places, but also over in Prague Pride and down in the Common Press London, and nowhere Netherlands. Good Lord, everywhere, basically, as far as I can tell. His latest collection, Self-Portrait as a Banana, is a candid exploration of his queer, diasporic, East Asian identity and cross-cultural relationships, appropriating, subverting, and queering cultural tropes like the banana, rice, and beckoning cat, and identities such as queerness and Chineseness. This is a powerful journey, a bold, humorous, and refreshing celebration of queer desire, identity, and cultural differences. We will be putting in place how you find out more about Hongwei, but now you need to be focusing in. Get prepped, get settled, get comfortable, get your ears wrapped around those beautiful, beautiful words that are coming your way. Hongwei, it's over to you. That's get involved.
Thanks very much, Faye, for your very kind introduction. And this makes me even more nervous. But
No, this is
oh,
you. You're here. This is your night. Shows the book. Shows the book. Shows the book.
I appreciate that, actually. So before I read the poems from this book, I want to say that to me the book cover design actually is thanks to Ashley, who is a great designer, and also at the last minute, almost before we sent this book to press, we found a great artwork from a Chinese queer artist, Bi Jianye. So B and PTSD collection have kindly given us permission to use this wonderful banana poem. So we actually do have banana for a book on bananas. Yes, so that's great. And the book actually is very, very yellow. So when I say yellow is not only because bananas are yellow and I particularly like the yellow color. I mean, for some reason, I think the yellow is an undervalued color in our culture. So usually cabs are yellow and whatever, cheap books are yellow. And in Chinese, actually, yellow book are actually pornography books, etc. But I also think that yellow is often associated with certain race and ethnicity. People from Asia, especially from East and Southeast Asia, are often called yellow people. Of course, I mean, this sounds horrible, but it's one of those racist categories. I mean, from many centuries ago, I mean, European, whatever, scientists, I mean, came up with this pseudoscience to categorize people into black, white, whatever, brown, yellow, and so on. So that's basically the color. So that's why that so there are terms such as yellow fever or yellow peril, primarily actually describing actually the threat of people from East Asia, presumably threatening the whole world. So that's why that I want to reinterpret the yellow cover and celebrate the yellowness of the book. But of course, everything has an origin. So part of the book is about rethinking my own cultural heritage. So by rereading some of the classical Chinese poetry and legend and fairy tales, etc. So one of the tales that I look back on was a kind of 4th century BCE classical Chinese text, which is very similar to the biblical story of the Genesis. And I call this Chinese Genesis, so which is basically how the world came into being according to classical Chinese myth. Chinese Genesis, after Shanhai Jing, a 4th century BCE classical Chinese text. Pan Gu slashes open the chaotic cosmos with a silver sword, splits the world into night and day. Nuwa dips handfuls of soil into the river, molds them into figurines of various shapes and sizes. The god of the wind whistles past, breathes life into them. The goddess of the rain descends, gifts them with feelings. Yuan is happy. She calls these creatures Ren, human beings. She hasn't expected, nor can she ever imagine, these beings will later be divided into men and women, straight and gay, black, brown, white, red, and yellow. So that's my take on a classical Chinese tale, injecting the kind of anti-racist message into the reading of this tale. But the book, actually, this is only one part of the book. So the book is divided into 4 sections. Each section is a sequence of poems telling I think, relatively coherent story. For example, part 1 would be a trip to China, my home visit to China every summer. And part 2 and 3 are 2 sets of queer poems involving intercultural relationships, that is, living with a same-sex partner from a different culture. And the last section is really about my life in the UK. There are many Nottingham poems, so you recognize the names such as, I don't know, Weatherspoon, such as Plumtree Street and Radcliffe Power Station and so on. So essentially, this is a kind of my love letter for the places that I lived in and the people that I relate to, that I can relate to. So I think that for the first part of my sharing, I'll share a sequence of poems about homecoming. This is not only because I've just come back from China from summer holiday, but also because this is a kind of annual ritual every year, every summer, simply because summer holidays is relatively manageable for me. I'm able to travel back to China. But the preparation for going back to China has always been so difficult. Sometimes I dread going back to China. Not that I don't love my parents, but that I feel like a foreigner in a country that I grow up in. So the sequence of poems start with, let's see, preparation for the trip. So as many of you know that in China, many social media cannot be used, such as Facebook, Twitter, etc. And then there's a Chinese equivalent of all the app. So I usually call the mobile phone usually have different modes, such as sleep mode, so no disturbing mode, and I call this Chinese mode or China mode. So when I prepare myself for the trip to China mode. My phone will be on China mode next week. Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky will be out of reach. Google, Gmail, and YouTube can only be accessed via VPN. WeChat, a super tool in the world, multifunctional, almighty, invincible. Life has never been so convenient and yet so precarious. I'd better think twice before I say anything, write anything, do anything. I will be in China next week, constantly on the move, no time for delay. Every night, a feast with friends or family, put to bed by alcohol and waking up feeling surreal. Wondering if this is a place where I grow up, nostalgic about the past and unsentimental about the present. I'll miss our garden. The roses must be in full bloom. The cherries must be ripe. And you must be thinking of me. So that's addressing my partner based in the UK. And of course, when I'm in China, it's great to be surrounded by family members. And I'm torn actually between my feelings for my Chinese home and my British home. Probably they don't have to be, contradictory. I can have both homes and both cultures in one. So the next poem is called Red Moon, which is about my reunion with my family in China. Red Moon. I visit my family in China every summer when the moon is a red hot sickle. Mum turns the aircon to its maximum, a continuous vibration of cold air. Dad takes out watermelon from the fridge, white frost crystallizing on red cubes. Sister throws all my clothes into the washer, then hangs them up like festival banners. The big white fluffy samoyed sits on my feet, head rubbing against my legs. I think of home in the UK, the damp English weather, the sleepless nights, and smile. So, that's the simple difference would be the temperature. In China, in winter, summer, it would be like 35 to 40 degrees, while here it's rather pleasant, about 20 degrees, and most of the time it would be raining, so which wouldn't be ideal, but which is at least cooler. And sometimes I catch up with my school friends, and I'm not out to most of my schoolmates and old university classmates for different reasons. In China, it's still not a welcoming environment for queer people. But I did come out to a friend of mine who is a best friend from my school days. So this is a sonnet written about that experience. Tea with a school friend. We meet in a Chinese tea house on a hot summer's day. The fragrance of Longjing leaves floats in the air. 20 years after graduation, we're both changed a lot. Wrinkles on the face, salt and pepper hair on the head. I congratulate her on her marriage and second child. She asked me how my life is. It's fine, I reply, not wishing to dwell on the topic. How's your partner? She insists. 他很好, I reply, deliberately playing it vague. On an impulse, I decide to show her a picture of you, blue-eyed with a cheeky smile, a pint of lager in one hand. He looks nice, he says softly, giving my phone back. Facial expression remains unchanged. Swiftly switches to another topic as if nothing has happened. For once, I know we have been accepted by my best school friend. So that's my coming out experience to my best friend. Well, I'll have to explain that the Chinese phrase 他很好 basically mean he, she, or they are fine. This is because the Chinese language, third person singular, is pronounced 他, regardless it's he, she, or they. So therefore, there is a bit of ambiguity in language. So sometimes I could talk about my partner using he, while people in China might think I'm talking about a she. So, oh well, so interesting language differences. And we'll move on to a poem that I hope that I would come out to my parents. If I would come out to my parents, it would be the time that when gay people face the most pressure, which is usually the Chinese New Year period. Most gay people in China dread going back home during the Chinese New Year because everybody will be asking, where's your girlfriend? When are you getting married? Etc. Of course, they're talking about heterosexual marriage, etc. So this is, in my imagination, how would it come out to my parents. How to make tea during the Chinese New Year. It's Chinese New Year. I'm at home with my parents. My boyfriend is in his home with his parents, dealing with interrogations of when he'll get married. I have had enough of these apologies, excuses, lies. I like to put a stop to all this acting once and for all. Why not make mom and dad a nice cup of tea, using their favorite blue and white porcelain, while they're comfortably seated in front of the telly, watching newlyweds in bright costumes, grinning, hugging, kissing. Grandparents offering children red pockets, eyes glittering with happiness. Why not take out the best bilutron leaves, handpicked from the green hills of the Yangtze River Delta? Don't forget to use Nongfu Shanquan mineral water, sourced from the glaciers of Himalaya mountains. Sprinkle the dry leaves on the bottom of the pot and shake gently while the fragrance evaporates. Pour the water 85 degrees centigrade. Let the hot steam kiss open the shy leaves. Cover the lid and brew for exactly 90 seconds. Then serve the orange-colored liquid in jade-textured teacups. Place the cups in delicate saucers and present them with both hands, showing care, precision, filial piety. While they sit back, cozily sipping, wondering why their son has changed into a different person today, tell them, as though making a small talk about their health. Mom and Dad, I've got a boyfriend. Yeah, so despite the challenge that I face actually in getting accepted because of my own sexuality in China, including my family, still every time when I go back to China, I feel that I should do more, that I should, for my parents, that I should go home more often. And my mom's health is getting worse because of old age. So one of the symptoms that I decided to that I discovered, I mean, was dementia. I mean, it's probably not that bad now, but there's certainly signs of dementia. So that's the next poem about my mom. Mom's skull contains a vacuum cleaner. Every 5 minutes, its dusty job hoovers every inch of her memory, declutters all sorrows and worries. It booms, roars, heats up, leaves no space for nostalgia. When I ask her if she's had dinner, she replies she doesn't know. When I offer to take her out for a walk, she asks me who I am. I wish I could take that machine away so I could talk to my parents about my childhood, our old Samoyed, my half-deaf dad, never complaining sister. How selfish that would be of me to drag her into my own memory. Perhaps having a vacuum cleaner in her head is not a bad thing, keeps her carefree like a child. I hope the machine never breaks down and a smile forever stays on her face. So, yeah, I'm indeed closer to my mom than dad, and they have separated. So this is how I imagine my mom would spend her New Year's Eve. So the poem is called New Year's Eve. The music stops. The drag queen in a large frock and heavy makeup takes a deep breath and leads the countdown. The crowd's cheers drown out the New Year's chorus. My husband circles my head with his arms, throwing a long kiss, eyes glittering with joy. Then the music starts. Steam and bubble rise into the air, blurring men and women's vibrating faces. The DJ's arms wave faster, smile spreads broader. As night sinks and twilight comes closer. 8 hours earlier, in my northern Chinese hometown, Mom wakes up to the thundering noise of fireworks, gazing at colorful sparks spreading then dissolving in the sky. She thinks of the many dark nights during the 3 COVID years, which still feels like a dream. Of a daughter who visited her last night, bringing hot dumplings, steamed pork buns. Of her ex-husband who lives in another flat with an old dog, both unsteady, slowly shedding hair. Of a neighbor who recently asked about her son, when he'll come back, a nice girl is looking to marry. Of a son living abroad for many years, who doesn't visit home often, who knows what he's up to. Mom, if it were not for this, I'd come home. So the last poem in the page, in the sequence is about my favorite Chinese restaurant in Beeston. So essentially, it's near Beeston High Street. I won't do advertisement, but just want to explain why I visit that Chinese restaurant very often. So it's called Taste of Home. It's the 3rd time this week I've visited this restaurant. Spring couplets on the door frame, red lanterns above the window, cherry blossoms on the wall. I sit down at a corner table, gaze at the mushy pork on the menu, golden omelette adorned by green cucumbers, black wood ear mushrooms. A middle-aged Chinese woman talks into her phone in broken English. A girl, perhaps a university student, scurries around with overflowing plates in both hands. Customers, young and old, bathed in the creamy steam of hot pot, the spicy aroma of kung pao chicken, the heart-wrenching Canton pop from the 90s. Please don't blame me for frequenting this place, while many other restaurants are around the corner. It feels like home. Its sight, its sound, its flavor, its taste. Thanks very much.
Oh, wow. Okay. I know I'm going to speak, but I also need to send a little love heart flying up the screen for that extraordinary set. What's even better is we get more Hongwei later. So, you know. And I think I'd said something in the chat. There we go. Not just across the set within the book, but even just within one poem, you get themes of family and pride and grief and joy and complex affection and history and future and everything just kind of wound up one poem. That's just extraordinary, let alone the rest of it. It's gorgeous. I've had my heart melting at different points. I felt grief and joy and kind of the whole kind of trepidation about coming out to your best friend. All of that beauty was absolutely glorious. Please check the chat, Hongwei, because the people are just absolutely showering the joy in there. We'll be reminding you all how to get hold of the books and how to follow Hongwei on social media and the rest of it as very shortly. As we say, hold on, because there's more, not only more guests, but more Hongwei as well. So, yeah, so excited. Folks, can we have another round of appreciation for that glorious
unmute,
set?
folks.
Unmute,
Absolutely.
unmute, make the sounds.
Whoa.
Oh,
Well
Incredible.
done.
Well done.
Thanks,
Beautiful.
everyone.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
oh, so good. And I
Fabulous.
so fabulous. We do. I'm now going to kind of edge towards that. Beeston's not too far from me, so I'm kind of excited about exploring new restaurants. That's beautiful stuff. Oh, I catch my breath. I've got a job to do here. Ash, remind me how long the interval is, so that we
Well, I
can
put
get
10 minutes, but it's up to you, mate,
it's
because we're running
poets.
a little bit behind, but it's because we're having an amazing time. So I say still have that 5-10 minute break.
Yeah.
Definitely. I need the loo and stuff. So so
Yes,
and I'm
let's do
sure
that.
and if you want to like speak in the interval, I'm chill with that. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, folks, if you want to unmute, if you want to chat, if you think this is a bit intimidating, we'll make you some breakout rooms if needs be. I will set a timer, so because if there's anyone in the audience like me who's like, linear time, it's an interesting concept that happens to other people. We'll just make it so that it's just a little bit easier to track.
Yeah.
So I generally encourage people at this point to enjoy the fact that we're on a remote platform for this, so that you have all of the comforts of home around you. You can go and stretch your legs. You can unless you're extremely unlucky, there won't be a queue for the toilet. You can make yourself a brew. If they don't have your favorite drink in, that's kind of on you. But enjoy. There we go. Always already all over it. Enjoy your environ and come back and chat and all the rest of it. Like I say, if you're thinking, I'd love to chat, but it feels a bit much, we will make you like a cafe and a bar and outdoors if that's what needs to be. And we'll tell you more about what's coming up later.
I've just tucked it in the chat, so
It's all got in the chat. Fantastic stuff.
on it, mate. On it, mate.
I love this whole, like co-hosting thing.
You've never seen me do the admin before, have you, mate?
Yeah, it's the future. I love it. We have even more artistry, more poetry, more performance, and apparently more questions for you in this the second half. You enjoyed the first half, more of the same coming, but even better, or just different, or just more of it. I think basically more of it. I can do words, it's all good. So, yeah, one of the things we're also going to want to encourage people to do is talk about other events that are coming up. get things in the chat if you want to promote other things, especially, by the sound of it, there's a lot of people from Nottingham in tonight, so especially if it's accessible events, get that in the chat too, and I will be plugging the things that I run with Allographic, which are at the moment all online and all free, like these events, and very much focusing on creativity and raising marginalized voices in lots of different ways. So yeah, that's the plug. That's it. I'll put that stuff in the chat if you're interested for later. But now I get to introduce another poet. Very exciting. And again, because these are all new folk for me, I'm following a script, but also getting very revved up because, I love hearing new folk. And it would appear that Hongwei has amazing taste. So this has all been fantastic so far. Robert Hamberger has been shortlisted and highly commended for Forward prizes, appearing in the Forward Book of Poetry 2020. He's been awarded an Hawthornden Fellowship and won the London Magazine Poetry Prize in 2023. His poetry is featured as the Guardian Poem of the Week and in British, American, Irish and Japanese anthologies. He's published 6 poetry pamphlets and 4 full-length collections. Blue Wallpaper with Waterloo Press was shortlisted for the 2020 Polari Prize. His prose memoir with poems A Length of Road, Finding Myself in the Footsteps of John Clare, which I am immediately obsessed with the notion of I'm going to go and check out, was published by John Murray in 2021. We'll be putting links to Robert's website in the chat, but I want you to help me welcome him, making all of those excited gestures, emojis, applause sounds, all of those things to welcome Robert Hamberger to the spotlight. Let's go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. And thanks to Hongwei and to Ashley for inviting me to support Hongwei's book launch. It's a real honor. The poems you've read, Hongwei, tonight are so delicate and passionate and incredibly moving. So thank you for letting me be part of this evening. Well, I remember, because I'm bound to forget, Hongwei and I are reading together on the 22nd of October at Five Leaves Bookshop in Nottingham. So hope to see you there. Now, tonight I'm going to be reading from my 5th collection called Nude Against a Rock from Waterloo Press. And it's basically divided into 3 sections. So I'll read a few poems from each section. The first section is a series of 17 love poems, and I'm going to read 4 of them. There are a number of sonnets. I love working with the sonnet form, both rhymed and unrhymed. And this is the opening poem. It's called First Day. Making love on the first day of the year, our mouths seek all the slippery places to feast on. Our words might disappear with a patter of kisses. Each pulse races like a spaniel to lick the gravy. Your fingerprints tap my skin while you translate me by touch, as if praising me for reading your language, solving your clue. Pull me tighter. We make this together, like rain persuades a pavement to accept it's wet. This year will do whatever it decides. We dive through minutes, adept as older lovers, meeting in a room where my breath catches when I say your name. Now, this next poem was written when during Trump's first term as president, and I'm afraid it's more relevant than ever, really. It's called Love Song for a Bigot. I refuse to disappear. This hand is my complexity. count its rivers and wedding rings. Marrying a man is my victory, your disgust. If years before I married a woman, that proves the riches of love. See them pour from the unpeopled heavens. I slip like an otter past your nets. Note how various I am. My children carry rivers in their hands. My ancestors lifted doors onto their backs, lifted toddlers and boxes in their arms 200 years ago, tested home against the holes in their boots, the spit of neighbors. I come from heroines who spoke another language. See them climb carefully into rickety boats, measuring safety over every wave and mile, shushing their babies, softly patting their backs, pinning hopes on half an hour's doze. What triumphs! To arrive and think, I'm not welcome here, but that door needs a lick of paint. I'll make it mine. I carry their name, and if you can't pronounce it, if it gutters against your tongue, it's as glorious as my fingerprints, singing for my mouth that shapes it, my ear that answers to it, like a perky dog. If whatever I do tonight makes you shudder, you don't need to watch. When I kiss his eyebrow, his shoulder, his dick, it's none of your business. I claim sanctuary in his arms. My door is bolted. I'm an eel and he's my river. Call me Scary Queen or Gully Queen. Quote Leviticus, its abominations. Answer me with your machete. It's nothing personal. Stop me seeing my child, my grandchild. I might infect them with my love. Build 1,000 walls to block me. I'll find 1,000 rivers to swim. I need a sip of wine after that. This next one is another sonnet. It was written about 5 years ago, and I feel it's very important for me to read it today. It's called Gaza. We sat on the prom, staring out to sea, when I read you a sonnet about Gaza. We stayed quiet half a minute until you said, I fear I'll never live to see the end of that. You may, but I think it'll drag on for ages. I understood you were giving me permission for years without you, making me feel a little life after you've gone, hanging on for Gaza to be solved, waiting for no more boys to be killed playing football on the sand. We fell silent again, wanting Gaza glorious, and you here to see it. You here. And the last love poem I'll read this evening is a poem called All They Can See. When we choose to kiss, it will be in wide awake air, with witnesses tut-tutting at two blatant men, as if archangels blunted their swords, paradise failed to expel us. We'll be accompanied by pigeons and fountains, tourists nibbling popcorn, water spurting from dolphins, or the bronze lips of mermaids. Drops tickle bellies and tails. I'll offer my mouth for an exchange of breath, lick of redemption. Receive the flavor of whatever you ate. A tangerine, its zest, prickly juice that tints my tongue. Let me taste you. How different from me you feel, while all they can see is two men kissing, one shorter than the other, glasses perched on noses, pink carnations crinkling our neat lapels. The middle section is a series of poems about family and memory and place. This one was won the London Magazine Poetry Prize, so I'm very fond of it, and I often stroke it and tell it how pretty it is. It's about the 1970s musical Funny Girl with Omar Sharif and Barbra Streisand. It's called Funny Girl. On the brink of my teens at the Dominion, I watch with my mother through the black. Omar and Barbara glow against our faces, sing "You Are Woman, I Am Man" in that heart-red boudoir on a 60-foot screen. Omar's dinner jacket, clipped moustache, brown eyes bigger than my head. Barbara's piled up hair, blue diamante matching her fan, sway me with their duet. I'm slinking inside their embrace. She surrenders the swan of her neck, shuts her lilac shadow eyes. Omar gathers her in his arms, croons, "Does it take more explanation than this?" My mother knows who's woman, who's man, though she's still trying to be father and mother, feel the shape of his gap. Is this how men serenade women who find it so absurd it makes them laugh? I want to unbuckle their clothes, bow tie at the throat, blue diamante, unfold whoever's softer to the touch, his hand or hers, my finger to lips, sense when it's night, his mouth on mine. It's a feeling I like feeling very much. When no one's watching, I risk being woman and man, wriggle between their voices, blur before their smoky gaze. My skin a swan's feather, prickling at the wing. I burst into flames with this feeling, all the time sitting silent in my singed and secret dark. This next poem, it refers to what Greg, in one of his poems on occupations, called Queens by Divine Right. And it reminds me of Hongwei's poem, New Year's Eve. Basically, during the lockdown in the pandemic, RuPaul's Drag Race kept me going. And this is a celebration of the men in RuPaul's Drag Race. It's called Queens. dragging ourselves past man-traps, straitjackets, cages. We've been good boys, walking in straight lines. We bend the rules now, balance on stilettos, dent our shame into shape. Snorting like unbroken stallions, let's wallow in girly songs, mouthing every word. Let's pirouette under cherry trees, squint through keyholes at a showering man, because we understand why that mongrel sniffs each lamppost. Let's not go meekly to the knacker's yard. Next winter, let's be nimble queens, climbing horse chestnuts, swinging, soaring, shouting down, while our branches drop on pavements like a messy nest, as if we must be cut before we can blossom. And this poem is called First Nations Man in a Montreal Sauna. And it starts with an epigraph from Natalie Diaz from the Guardian Review on the 4th of July, 2020, where she asked, can we create these intimate spaces within the very nation that doesn't want us? This mirror's darkness unravels our limbs, giving and taking the gifts we both crave. Fingers wallow through his thick black hair, our living skin. He calls mine soft. The feelings mouths engender, more minutes, overwhelming, my God, wrenching from my throat. Afterwards, when we talk in that dim intimacy, he speaks about wanting to see London one day and how living in his flat is okay most of the time, meaning sometimes it's not, and how he must get back for his dinner shift at the cafe. And I'm going to end with 3 poems from the title sequence, Nude Against a Rock. That painting is by Keith Vaughan, a gay British painter who died in 1977, and it's on the cover of the book. The Keith Vaughan estate agreed we could use the painting, which was a lovely surprise, really. Now, one of the things about Keith Vaughan, he was quite a tortured soul, but the paradox is that he often painted men, nudes, and he celebrated the male form, as well as being quite tortured, I think, about being gay. And obviously, for most of his adult life, being gay was illegal. One of the great things about Keith Vaughan is he wrote a tremendously honest journal, and I use quotations from his journal and other writings as epigraphs to each of the poems. The poems all have titles and are inspired by Keith Vaughan's paintings, drawings, or photographs. He was also a great photographer. The other thing I do need to say is they're spoken in the imagined voice of Keith Vaughan. So when you hear these poems, you need to imagine that I'm Keith Vaughan. I'm going to start with just read 3 poems, and I'm going to start with the title poem, Nude Against a Rock. The epigraph is from Keith Vaughan's essay, Painter's Progress, in August 1958, and he wrote, "These compositions rely on the assumption hard to justify perhaps, but nonetheless real to me, that the human figure, the nude, is still a valid symbol for the expression of man's aspirations and reactions to the life of his time. When I stand my nude against a rock, who wins? The nude scores on softness, sleek as a man able to be gentle, worthy of love. If his hand rests to steady himself beside the black bulk, it doesn't mean he believes stone is stronger than skin, armor the toughest way to survive. I pitch the body against blocks, boulders, and monoliths, somewhere near the sea, under pewter cloud. What a weight he carries on his shoulders. This gilt sun travels across his nipples, torso, groin, glinting patches of pistachio and coral, even pearl. I'll balance my final touches with a truce, each leaning on the other. That crag cushions his shoulder when he tilts his chin. Shadows crosshatch their stony valley. This man rises like a vulnerable answer, always saying yes. And just two more poems. This one is called Leaping Figure. And in his journals on the 2nd of April, 1964, Keith Vaughan wrote, "When every touch you make seems marvelous and exhilarating, you feel at last, this is it. This is the way you should paint. Just trying to surprise yourself with a masterpiece. You leap into paint. It's scuffs and strokes and splashes. Gouache seems a caress on paper, oils a sticky glut, ink and wash, thunder and cloud. They make a man of you, this body of contradictions standing barefoot by the easel. You leap over naysayers, the obstructors, your damned neurosis, foggy doubt. You leap over courts of justice, steeples in autumn villages, your mother's grip, your lover's smothering. You leap over banisters, gates, fences. Your father misses you. He even says so. Your brother walks back. Lovers unshackle you. Bruises are kisses. You're naked on Pagham Beach again. Days of sun. Waves lull courage against your ankles. A gull dives to nip your fingers. Talent snatches your hand. You laugh down failure's throat. All that matters is the next nude, the open landscape, bells clanging from every rooftop. Your name, your name, your name. And here's my last poem this evening. It's called Horizontal Figure. And in his journals on the 8th of September, 1977, just 2 months before he died, Keith Vaughan wrote, "I thought in bed last night about Boulanger, the French Canadian I picked up in the York Minster one night, about 1944, and took him home to bed. He lay sleeping, heavy with drink. Some weeks later, I was told he'd been blown to pieces on the Anzio beachhead. Adieu to the drowsy youth, his arm flung back in dreams. My kisses fail to wake him, this skitter of moths across skin. 30 years gone, still warm between sheets, I swim there again. His nipples the sheen from oyster shells, his navel mother of pearl. He is pebbles and breadcrumbs. I can't cup his charred gifts in my hand or forget his eyes. Thank you for listening.
Wow. Just wow. Oh, Robert, that was
Sitting that.
yeah. Now I've got to outro and look professional. This is fine.
Thank you.
Just why I'm paying you to do
Lord.
it.
Yeah,
You do it. You do it. I can't. It's just.
this is fine. I can do this. And I know this word doesn't get used in its original way, but I'm using it, I guess, more in its original way. The carnality of your poetry, Robert, it is just so palpable. You can feel everything, smell everything, see everything, extremely vivid. And also just a master of the banging mic drop last line. That's oof.
Thank you.
I just kept throwing them in the chat and going, this is ridiculous. I'm just keeping throwing every final line into this. And then I think there was a penultimate line just for a mix in there. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. The lilting delivery. We've had just everybody's just got such extraordinary delivery tonight. But yeah, just please check out the chat because everyone's pretty much saying the same thing as me here. But it's that it's moving and it's glorious. And again, with the real range of love and complex affection and beautifully turned rage there in some of them. The love song to a bigot was definitely one of my favorites. But yes, please do check that out. We've put some links in for your book. I'm encouraging people to buy it directly from Five Leaves because
Yes, why not? Thank you.
independent bookshop. They've got an online store.
Absolutely.
Go do that. That's the best way. Not that I'm saying don't buy from Amazon, but I'm also saying buy from that bookshop, please. So yes, and to remind you, there will be a launch of that book on the 22nd of August. We've put links in the chat. If any of you are going, oh, there's so much good stuff in the chat. How do I keep track of it? You can save the chat. So a little bit of technical thing for you there. There are 3 dots next to the title of the chat, and you can click on Save Chat, and you'll get all of that to text. So all of those links people have been throwing in, all of that into extra information, that's all in there. Oh, I'm still a little bit breathless. I haven't quite recovered myself after that, Robert. But could we please, just to give me a bit of a chance to recover, can we have another round of appreciation for that gorgeous set? Thank you so much. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brilliant. Just thank you for taking the time to come and
Yeah.
do this for Hongwei and for my ears and my soul. I'm just blown away.
It is beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And again, I'm loving that we have not only your history as a queer man, but further history back. You bring that artist, and we've got now 2 books with art by queer artists, and that's just bringing out the range of art forms. It's beautiful stuff. I am going to introduce our penultimate artist, Maria Jastrzębska, who has published 5 full-length poetry collections, including Small Odysseys with Waterloo Press in 2022, At the Library of Memories 2013 with Waterloo Press, and The True Story of Cowboy Hat and Ingenue in 2018 with Cinnamon Press. Her selected poems were translated into Polish with, I'm really sorry in advance because I definitely should have practiced it, but
Wow.
Stowarzyszenie Zewicz Poetów and Romanian with Integral Contemporary Press. She translated Justyna Bagiowska's The Great Plan B with Smokestack 2017 and has co-edited various anthologies, among them Queer in Brighton, New Writing South 2014 with Anthony Livera. Her own poems are widely anthologized. She worked on Speaking Solidarity and Anti-Bullying Project for young people. We'll put her links in the chat, but in the meantime, I'm going to get you to focus on Maria, who
If
is...
sound doesn't work, please tell me.
We will let you know, make sure that that's being changed, being shared.
Can everybody see the screen and it's all black at the moment?
It's all black at the moment, but we can see that there are controls for pressing play.
There we go.
There she is.
Thank you, Ashley. Hi,
Yes, we can hear
everyone.
it.
My name is Maria Jastrzębska, and I'm really, really excited to be part of this launch for Hongwei's beautiful book and to be among old friends and new here. It's very important to me that voices from the LGBTQ plus community are heard when we write about our lives or from a queer perspective. This book in particular really resonates with me. And in Hongwei's case, he also writes from a migrant perspective as well as a queer perspective. And I'm the child of refugees. I came to the UK from Poland as a child. And so that's also a huge part of my identity. And it makes things both more complex and more interesting. I'm going to be reading from Small Odysseys, my most recent book, and I'll start with a poem about my father. I love how Hongwei includes his family in a lot of his work. And my dad, like many Polish people, was born actually in Russia, which then quickly became the Soviet Union. Once in St. Petersburg. My father was born in a matchbox, rattled in his father's pocket. It was dark. He could smell chai brewing, heard a piano. His mother gave him milk in an acorn cup. He waved a blade of grass as a sword, rode on a black beetle's back. When he reached school age, his papa said, "Despite scant portions and hunger in Russia, it's time for you to grow up." When I was a child, I couldn't imagine he'd ever been any different. He was so tall, his voice boomed down from the clouds. It was only many years later, after I'd run away to live by the seaside, that he visited. On arriving, he took a nap. As he dozed on my sofa, though his feet stuck out, he suddenly looked very small. I wanted to wrap him in cotton wool, place him inside a matchbox to keep him close to me wherever I went. And if I learned to make myself tiny, we could stroll on the beach, arm in arm. He might tell me the story of the firebird lighting the dark with its tail. One of the things I tried to do in this particular book of mine was to queer historical narratives and to include queer characters and lives in narratives where normally we're excluded. So here are two young men in Poland during the Nazi occupation. Swan Boy and Crow, 1941. Fat boy with pickpocket blue eyes and a steal your heart lopsided grin. He followed you, pushed you against the bare brick of shattered wall, stamped himself into you, leaving no mark in the dusk. You said he only stopped by to cadge cigarettes, but you strolled home whistling. The married men who slap you too hard on the back, swing an arm round your shoulder, your long white throat, Swan Boy. You glide among them while I hop behind you like a crow. We were going to rent an apartment. You said we'd take in a stray kitten. Call him Kandinsky, maybe Cole Porter. Even last week, I would have raged, wanted God to punish you. But now you can have that boy. Have all the boys in the world, the older men. They can bring you as many gifts as you like, lighters, silk ties, chocolate. Only don't let a sniper or the mortar find you. Come back safely tonight. Another thing I like in Hongwei's work is that sort of disconnect or connect between here and there, between where we live now and our places of origin. And my book zigzags a lot between different countries, in particular between UK and Poland. And this next poem, it's a haibun. It starts off as prose and then ends with a sort of love poem haiku. And it's set in Warsaw when I was visiting my family. And the title of it comes from an exhibition I saw about modernization, which was a very progressive movement in Poland, full of hope and ideas about equality and diversity in the early part of the last century. The future will be different. How on earth does Felix survive with 2 dogs? I ask my other cousin. They don't like him. They really don't, but they don't say anything. Felix climbs along the frame of my aunt's bed. She gazes at me and then at the cat, as if from a distance. The kind of distance which stretches, even swings between mountains when you're looking from one peak across to the next. Remember us walking in the Tatras together? You took me there, I ask my aunt. She says, I can't run round anymore. My cousin says, they've built a playground for the new housing estate across the street, but they've put a fence around it and padlocked it shut because the developer sold city land to a private nursery, so only those children get to go in 2 hours each day. The rest of the time, local parents climb over the fence with their kids. First, collectivization killed those interwar dreams. Now it's privatization. You know, it was only when I visited Dresden last year that I understood my own city. Instead of a street leading somewhere, it just ends in a hole. A big hole, craters surfacing everywhere. Your note in my bag. You hid it so well. I'm just rereading it now. Who would I be here? If I hadn't met you, would I still believe in hell? Small Odysseys zigzags, as I've said, between countries. So here we're back in the UK. And of course, you'll all be aware of how recently the St. George's flag has been appropriated by the right and stuck up everywhere as a message of hate and menace. And I think there's been that kind of racism in this country forever, but I think it was particularly green-lighted when we had the Brexit referendum, and it kind of gave permission for that sort of violence and hatred. And you probably know lots of communities, ethnic minority communities, were targeted immediately after the referendum, and that included Polish people. And cards were posted through Polish people's doors saying, "No more Polish vermin," and "Go home." So I thought I'd write a poem about vermin and try and imagine how a young person would receive that kind of message. Who are we, Mama? Are we earthworm turning, shiny railroad worm, flashing green and red, bloodworm dying in enormous heaps which make noses wrinkle, inchworm measuring new land in loops? Is this what vermin means, Mama? Enchanting glowworm, Mama? Maybe mealworm to be snacked on, Mama? Hard-working silkworm? Or woolly bear worm, surviving winters, rolling into a ball if picked up? Mama, are we pigeon, crow, snake, rat, little mouse, flea? I don't mind being puma. Someone said they'd seen one. Or red kite, nearly extinct. But look at their long wings, Mama. We could be fox, wolf, something shy that burrows, or something that digs its hooves in. But what are they who call us them when we are us? Clouds that drift, particles of dust, to be cherished or lost. No beseeching, same as us, Mama. And I'm going to end with the title poem, which is a love poem. As summer comes to an end, here's a poem that's set in sunny Crete. Small Odysseys. I'd forgotten about the blue wheelbarrows, how they always seem to be stacked in pairs, leaning against a limestone wall. The abundance of lemons like golden eggs heaped on a plate. That the word hiraki means hawk, its body splitting open the sky as it swoops down. Or how tiny bubbles of air leave my mouth to enter indigo water. When I lift my head, all the familiar sounds return. The ferry's engine, goats bleating, Coco the parrot, who has learnt to mew like a cat, and, out of loneliness, to ring like a telephone. I'd forgotten there's no signal, no way to reach you, only sea rocking back and forth, in and out, like the breath of the cove. Dziękuję bardzo. Thank you very much for listening to me. I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening, which I know is going to be wonderful. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person, but I'll be waving from the Coast is Queer Festival in Brighton and wishing Hongwei everything wonderful with his new publication.
Dziękuję bardzo. Wow, wasn't that glorious? Absolutely
amazing.
beautiful stuff. Yeah.
I'm lucky I got to listen to that twice now.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, we could all listen to it many other times when
Yes.
we look at the recording later. That was amazing. I don't know about you, but I had different. I'm a synesthetic, so I had different color tones through that, like a kind of a blue gray for some parts of it, with flashes of red, and then it was just gloriously amber and yellow and pink for the last one. Just beautiful, and of course indigo for the water. Oh, that was extraordinary. And again, that fierceness coming through, whether it is love or indignation or whatever is being demonstrated there. She has such a fine voice. Hopefully she will see this later, but whichever way, sending down to Brighton, our love and appreciation for that set for Maria. Let's do that. Woo! Glorious. Just glorious. Yeah, Sam, awesome set, wasn't it? Amazing stuff. Oh, right.
And it's not over.
It's not over. We've got even more to go. It's fantastic. So we're doing the Q&A next.
Yeah,
Is that what
yeah,
we do?
yeah.
Even if it's just one Q and one A. We've no idea how this will
Well,
go.
just a little one, yeah, because time, and I know people are getting a bit tired now and things, so
for sure, yes.
consideration of needs and stuff.
Yeah, all of that thing. But I'm glad people are able to watch back. I like the accessibility with that too. Okay, so
I won't spotlight your Hongwei on this. That's cruel.
because it's about everybody
Yes,
who's getting
yes,
involved with
exactly.
this. So, folks, if you don't feel bold enough to put things out, unmute or take your camera off or whatever, feel free to put stuff in the chat, and Ash and I will read it out between us.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask a question, which is one of those ones that everybody always gets asked about their book. But how did you come up with the title?
Oh, shall I go?
So, yeah, go.
Title. I think that I should read the title poem actually, but I will read the title poem.
Save it and do it at the start of your set. Make people wait.
Yes.
Anticipation.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
So why not? I mean, the background is that a banana is a colloquial term in English language. Not everybody knows this. Usually in the East communities, it's used to describe a person of East Asian heritage growing up in the West or have lived in the West for a long time, supposedly have internalized Western values and becoming white and not so Asian. So it's usually a derogatory term saying that you have forgotten your own cultural heritage. Who do you think you are? So that's basically how it's commonly used. But I'm using the term banana actually as a, kind of more affectionate, in a more positive way to say that I'm a banana. So what? I mean, I probably have, I'm not able to speak Chinese properly. I probably do not know what's going on in China. I probably do not know as much cultural heritage as I should do, but that's okay because this kind of hybridity of identity, this in-betweenness should be celebrated rather than being feeling ashamed of. So this is my unapologetic declaration of me as a banana. What's wrong with being a banana? And also a banana, I think is really nice actually, because it's bent, it's queer, it's bright, it's it's everything. So I'll probably just read this actually to give you a sense of how I use the term banana and claim the banana-ness as well as yellowness. Self-portrait as a banana. Think of myself as a banana. Yellow skin, white flesh, blaze of tropical sun, fragrance of autumnal breeze. Not as yellow as in Yellow River or Yellow Peril, but as yellow as a sunflower admiring its golden light. A cab zigzagging along grey Big Apple streets. A submarine hibernating in the deep blue sea. Not as white as in whitewash or white privilege, but as white as a lotus flower serenading the moon. A polar bear melting the Arctic skyline. A vast stretch of snow sharpening the crisp winter air. If I must choose to be one, let me be as bent, bastard, queer as a banana. My skin is in the game. Take care where you step. So this is my kind of new take or appropriation of the banana, well, originally a racist and racial trope. Now I'm celebrating it. Yeah.
We do that with a lot of words, don't we? We're going to take them back, like the word queer, for example.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to take ownership of that, and then they can't hurt us with it, and we're going to celebrate it. I love that you wanted that as the title, mate. I really did.
Absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else got any questions? Oh, so Sam says, Hongwei, I'm sitting here with a signed copy of your book, Queer Comrades, bought back in 2018. I'm curious about writers' choices to switch between poetry and prose and what guides you towards different forms of writing.
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I published my first book, 2018 book, Queer Comrades, at that time, I consider myself as solely as an academic. I mean, doing work as a cultural historian to document China's queer history. So basically, Queer Comrades is a cultural history of Chinese queer activism. I felt it was important that I should document it. And of course, this is great. And after that, I published books on queer culture, queer art, queer literature, etc., etc. So I admire those queer artists and queer writers, and have been very much inspired by them. So between that time, I start to read queer literature, both in the UK and outside the UK. So including the works of Greg Woods, of Robert, of Maria, and so on. I've been so inspired by it. I feel that I also, have something to contribute. At least, one thing that all of them have taught me is that queer design is not something to be ashamed of. It should be written unapologetically and celebrate the queer design and intimacy. So that was when I started actually to learn creative writing. Of course, my kind of creative writing journey was pretty much forced to be, or as well as voluntarily taking up. So in 2020, the pandemic starts, and as with everybody else, I have to sit at home. When you sit at home, you can do many things, and I find that writing poetry actually is a good way for me as a kind of emotional release or kind of therapy. I know that's not what poetry is only about, but at that time, poetry really helps me. I feel that since I don't know how long I'm going to live or whatever, so I might as well actually just write down what I think. And originally, I wanted to write a memoir, but of course, a memoir takes a long time to write. But poetry is relatively, in a way, straightforward. You can spend about half an hour writing one poem. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you throw it away, etc. So that actually became a really good time, both for my personal health and well-being and for my creativity. And I found that academic writing, in a way, has it suppressed my kind of personal voice to some extent, and poetry and fiction can allow me to write in a more candid way to express myself to the public. And of course, people have been very supportive, especially people from Nottingham's community, poetry and literary community. Go to open mics and pubs, etc. And everybody is so nice and supportive. So I feel very lucky that I've been inspired by brilliant poets and writers here. I will have also been supported by a really nice poetry community in Nottingham. And in the process, I find that my academic writing has become more interesting. At least in the past, I thought if I just accumulate the facts and explain everything clearly, that'll be fine. And now I would be more interested in exploring what is the best style or prose to express that. And at the same time, my poetry actually has also been informed by my research, because my research is essentially, at the moment, about queer East Asian diasporic experience. So in a way, those poems have also been informed by my own experience and my own academic research. I'd say that they are mutually constitutive and cross-fertilizing.
think did Susie have a question as well, and then we move on. We'll move on because of time. I'm just conscious of time as well.
My question, I think, has already been answered. My question was going to be, do you have a favourite poem, Hongwei? But having just heard you read Self-Portrait as a Banana, maybe that's it.
Yeah, well, at different times, I have a different favorite poems. At the moment, I think it's Self-Portrait as a Banana.
Thank you. They, yeah, sure. Tag.
Oh, sweet, lovely stuff. Oh, thank you so much, folks, for getting involved and asking some questions, expanding our understanding of Hongwei's methods, and just a little peek behind the scenes for the book and the poetry and the art. So yeah, unfortunately, this is the last part of this evening, which is sad, but happily, it's more Hongwei, which is happy. So we get more of those glorious words of this beautiful playing with language, culture, ideas of family and connection and the rest of it across borders and cultures and times. So folks, please help me welcome back to the spotlight Hongwei Bao. Let's do it.
Thank you, Faye, and thank everyone. I want to particularly thank Maria, Robert, and Greg for their support. And I've been very much inspired by their poetry. It is because of their poems that I see the importance of poetry for queer expression, for queer history. But also, they are very nice and extremely nice and generous people. So when I ask them to read the script or to write some words, blurbs, etc., so all of them have said yes. I mean, to my surprise, and I'm grateful to the support. And the next set of poem is a set of queer poems, very much inspired by the work of the three feature poets in tonight, but also by other poets. So most of the poems in the second and third part are queer poems about queer relationship, but in particular living in a queer cross-cultural relationship. So my husband is English. Of course, I mean, there are cultural differences, but I suppose when you're living with somebody, I mean, on an everyday basis, those differences do not matter, but they also create some interesting tensions. So starting from the kind of the beginning of the sequence, Summer Sonata, which describes the dating scene. But I would also say that several poems from this collection comes from my pamphlet, which is called The Dream of the Orchid Pavilion. And also thank my previous editor, Anne Holloway, for her help with the pamphlet. Summer Sonata. Just because I don't send you a hot emoji doesn't mean I'm not interested. We message on Grindr and agree to meet up. The silver birch leaves are waving. Just because I don't say please when I ask you to pass me the beer mat doesn't mean I'm rude. Your hand falls on mine and mine on yours. The golden stellar is fizzing. Just because I don't say thank you after you've given me a lift doesn't mean I'm ungrateful. I wouldn't have invited in otherwise. The summer clouds are accumulating. Just because I don't say I love you when we kiss each other goodbye doesn't mean I love you less. The purple dahlias were dancing. So I understand that, I mean, partly because of cultural difference, partly because of my personality, I probably do not say these things such as thank you, please, and so on very often as people in English culture do. However, this hopefully conveys my feeling. And of course, I mean, I'm very much inspired by the poetry celebrating queer nightlife, in particular, the fabulous drag queens and so on. So the next poem is about queer clubbing, but it was written during the pandemic. So of course, I mean, when the clubs were closed. So this is how I miss the clubbing. Dance floor. LED lights paint the hall pink. Thumping music speeds up the heartbeat. The drag queen dances the shimmy and laughs her best. The DJ shuts his eyes, lids blue and lips purple. You stand next to me, waist swaying and arms waving. Ripples of pure joy reverberate in the air. You put a hand on my back, feeling the contraction of my muscles, the heat on my skin. The bittersweet taste of the cocktail, the heartbreaking voice of Madonna, the dancing laser night lights on our faces. So that's the clubbing night. And thanks to all those clubs, bars, and queer venues that keeps queer life going through difficult times. So the next poem follows the evening, describing what happens the next day, which is written by Sonnet. I have also been inspired by Greg and Maria and Roberts. I mean, use of traditional poetic forms such as sonnet. And I cannot rhyme. And this is a kind of non-rhymed American sonnet. The morning has come. The water is running. The shaver is humming. I feel its gentle kiss on my skin. My hand still carries a faded mark from last night, the childish drawing of a bouncer. My hips are sore, my legs let heavy. As they refuse to stay still on the dance floor, your eyes burnt through me. The air was electric. My knee carries the weight and heat of your palm while we sat on the tram, oblivious to what others might say or think. My tongue keeps that fresh taste of you, a peppermint sprouting in my stomach. My skin treasures every collision of yours, like a boat missing every rock of the waves. Now your cologne lingers in the air, your face lucid in my head, but you are not here. How shall my body remember you? Following that is a concrete poem, which basically is shaped like a staircase. Gray. My heart sinks for a moment. The second I look out the window, the sky is grayer than the business suits people wear in an office full of glass and chrome steel. Raindrops splatter on the roof, 1,000 sighs. I drift down the spiral staircase, chasing the smell of bacon and egg and freshly ground lavazza. The instant I spot your stubble face and Cheshire Cat smile, the sun breaks through. So after this sequence, I also have a few poems that infuses the description of cultural difference and a queer relationship. And this was actually written, the following poem was written in Lian Morden's workshop, paper crane workshop. So the prompt was, what's your secret joy? I think it's, well, what's your guilty pleasure was a prompt. So essentially, I have to admit that I like eating pot noodles. For those who don't know, pot noodles are those instant noodle in a plastic container where you pour water in and then it's ready to eat. So that was my a guilty pleasure, pot noodle. No matter what and how much I've eaten during the day, at midnight and in the dark, I always fumble my way to the kitchen, eyes sharp like an owl, homing instinct of a pigeon, digging in the pantry for the pot noodles I recently bought. Kettle on, water boiling, white steam evaporates in the air. The smell, the taste, transports me to another place, another time. The childhood when I learned to make noodles without getting burnt while mom and dad were out at work. The school days where the canteen food was never sufficient for a growing body and stomach. The university days when sharing a hot pot of noodles was the only way for two men to have a moment of intimacy. The years I've lived in the UK become disillusioned with fish fingers, fried potatoes, boiled veggies. The discussions rouse even between you and me about ready-made food containing preservatives bad for health. No sage advice can deter my passion for pot noodles. On cold nights like this, I open the lid and let the spicy soup and smooth noodle envelop my body, warming up 1,000 cold nights away from home, from mom's hands, dad's eyes, lovers' kisses. After devouring the noodle, I pour the soup down the drain, hide the pot in the bin, tiptoe upstairs, feeling content and accomplished, as if I've just left the crime scene with a perfect alibi. In the bedroom, you are still sound asleep. So that's my guilty pleasure, pot noodles. And of course, in a relationship or in any relationship, there would be arguments. This is how we resolve the arguments. So that's page 61 for those who have the book. So it's called reconciliation, which is basically folding sheets. So when sheets are dry, usually it's very difficult for one person to fold the sheets. You need two. So reconciliation. Fresh from the washer, bearing the memories of our bodies, soaked in patty rolls over breakfast table. You hold one end, me the other, hands on all corners. We step back, deep breath, and pull. Air trembles, wrinkles flatten, seams scream. Your fingers shake as I keep pulling. A tug of war. Our eyes meet. A begrudging look, a forgiving smile. My hands let loose. The lavender linen drops to your side. Swiftly you fold it. Once, twice, 3 times. Ready for the warmth of the towel rail. So the last 2 poems. So moving home. I've moved home for many times. Somehow, I kind of dread moving home again. So this was one of the moving home experiences. This is on page 62. We stand in front of a weathered oak wardrobe, doors wide open. Final decisions about what's to stay. This jacket can go. You point to the black woolen jacket hidden in the corner. White dust sprinkled on cold shoulder pads. Snow lingering on a spring hill. You haven't used it for 3 years. Obviously, you don't need it. I lift the jacket from the coat hanger, feel its weight, peel off a strand of hair. Could have told you my mother bought it when I left home. I decide to keep the information to myself. These boots can go. You point to a pair of heavy-duty black leather boots. It seldom snows here. You'll be lucky to wear it once a year. I turn the shoes upside down, mesmerized by the sand, soil, and pebbles trapped in the soles. Souvenirs from past trips, carried through silver ice in China, soft snow in Germany, occasional visits to aurora-lit Nordic capitals. I hesitate, then nod. Piece by piece have my jumpers, thermals, long johns gone. Bit by bit dissipate my frozen memories of the winter. Perhaps moving house is just a convenient excuse for both of us to move on in life. Perhaps your suggestion is simply the very prompt I need to bid farewell to the past, to start a new life with you on this warm, insulated island. So, yeah, I'm aware that this will be my last poem, and I'm grateful to all of you for your attention. And tonight has been a fabulous celebration of queer poetry and queer love. And thank my editor, Ashley, for being such a support and advocate for my poems. And thank Faye for being such a wonderful and encouraging host. And thank Poetic Edge for magnifying the minority voices or marginalized voices in the poetry. I know it's very difficult for indie poetry publishers to survive in today's, economic whatever situation. And I really admire your work, and also to people who still love poetry, who use poetry for a variety of expressions. So thank you for coming tonight. So this is my last poem written in the car. It's called On the Road. Feel the spin of the wheels, the surprise of ramps or potholes, the acceleration, deceleration, sudden turns. Your hands on the wheel, your foot on the clutch, your eyes on the windscreen. Sitting next to you, feeding you a humbug, turning up the radio to sing with Lady Gaga, putting a hand on your knee, your crotch. The splash of the waves is behind us. The moon and the stars hung above us. The vales and dales open their arms and hearts. We drive through the wind, through time, space, aerodynamics, our hair covered with frost as we leave our hometowns behind. Thank you very much.
Unmute everybody, and I'm okay with the fact that we ran over because we were treated.
It still feels like we only got 5 minutes, to be honest with you. It's just ridiculous. Everyone's set's going to be 3 times as long, and I'd have been still going, could I have some more of that?
Right, which speaks volumes.
Oh, wow, what an evening. And I love the shift, the intimacy and the warmth of that second set, Hongwei. I also know that I'm not alone. I'm now falling in love with your husband just through the poetry.
Thank my husband, who is downstairs at the moment making tea.
Oh, it's just that was just so beautiful, and yeah, the details kind of bring things to life. And then like about halfway through, I just kind of my brain rewound and went, I'm sorry, did you say that you started writing poetry in 2020?
Yes, yeah.
Just can't even.
Yeah, that's basically that's all I've got in response to that, because that's glorious. The way you play with words and the way you craft them into something else, just absolutely extraordinary. You'd be expecting that from someone who'd been writing for decades, but yeah, just amazing. Oh, what a bloody evening! Look at that. That was just I'm blown away. I know you all are as well. I just want to make sure then that we're thanking everybody who came and made this such a beautiful thing. So obviously, first of all, to our special guests, Gregory Woods, Robert Hamberger, and Maria Jastrzębska. Just absolutely extraordinary. Thank you all so much for your generosity and your time and your craft. And I loved how you were referencing especially Hongwei's work and his pieces and the rest of it, just kind of bringing it into a whole. That was absolutely lush. Yeah, thank you to those of you who came and supported the audience, getting involved in the chat and outside of that, asking questions and making it just this beautiful organic event. Sometimes online events can feel quite cold and quite distant, dissociated, and the rest of it. I don't know about you, I felt that connection across all the different places. Although, like I say, this is much more local than I'm used to. Far more people in the same geographical area for once in this one. But it was, yeah, that was just absolutely beautiful. So those of you who have stayed, and those of you who had to go off, and those of you who are seeing this in retrospect or on YouTube and various other places, just amazing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm loving the thanks and the congratulations. Yeah, absolutely. So, and before I get on to thanking Hongwei again, I do want to make sure that we thank Ash for making this book a reality, for getting stuck into making this beautiful thing happening, this beautiful yellow book, and all of the beautiful things contained in it. There it is. There's the fella. So yeah, support independent publishers and independent bookshops. Sometimes you can only get it online from the big fellas, but if you can, go to the small places, the places who can take risks and make a more personalized experience for both the writer and the readers. It's where you'll find some really unexpected treasures, and sometimes it's where you find people who are going to go on to bigger and broader things, but in the meantime you've got these gems of early works from the independent publishers. So just want to ask you all to join me in your thanks and congratulations for Hongwei Bao, because self-portrait banana is just fabulous, just from those slivers alone that we've been graced with this evening. So it's buy the book, tell your friends about the book, go and do the things, and in the meantime, please give your love and appreciations, throw those emojis up, wave your hands in the air, whatever it is you need to do. Unmute and say, well done, that was amazing, thank you so much.
Well
Well
done.
done,
Thank you,
Well
everyone.
done, Hongwei.
Yeah. This means a lot to me. Thank you very much for coming and for the support.
You deserve it.
Absolutely, yes.